Everybody, hello. Back again already. Just had a nice hour-long discussion with Kelly about the debate over whether the Bible explains existence, and we're supposed to be interviewing a guest who wants to talk about church hurt and what he's going through as a Christian or what people go through as Christians in the church these days. So we are just waiting for the guest to show up. And in the meantime, I've got my co-host here, Katie. How's it going these days?
Hello,
Hey,
I'm doing absolutely fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing it, man. I'm sitting here and seem to have went through a nice debate. It was very cordial, very productive, I think, in the conversation, and just working and doing music and all the things I love to do. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing absolutely fine. Just had a busy day doing other stuff, as usual.
Yeah,
Pottering around here and there.
exactly. Well, I'm just glad it's Saturday. I work and we were talking about this over the chat. I work in IT and I have to deal with a lot of crazy people on the phone sometimes, and oh
Mm.
God, it can get so exhausting. It's number one, it's you're trying to get problems solved, and sometimes you have to really sit back and think about it. And but people are very high pressure, so they want you to fix their problem yesterday, and they're on the phone with these people and they're no help because they don't really know what they're talking about either. So you've got to figure out what is the real
Lines
problem
leading the
because
blind.
you can't trust them. They know they have a problem, but they can't really tell you what's going on really if you think about it because they don't really know it. But yeah, so enough of that. The weekends come, so I'm just happy for that.
Time to relax. Time to chill out. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so Tertullian just hit me back. He said he just got home and he just needs to charge his battery. Um, and so he'll be joining us here in a little bit. We're going to be talking again about church hurt. So Tertullian is a friend of mine, Katie. We
Hmm.
actually met in Los Angeles, California, about 13 years ago, and he's a musician. He was a singer, actor, all of that kind of stuff. He was kind of like a recent transplant at the time, coming
Mm.
from New Jersey, I think it was. And so I was one of the first people he met when he got in town, and we kicked it off really well. And now he's releasing records professionally and
Oh.
doing commercials and movies and all kinds of stuff, man, with his career. He's really evolved, and so it'll be really nice to link up again and actually talk. I think the last time I spoke to him in person was about 4 years ago at an event that my ex-wife was doing. She was an event planner, so
All right. Yeah.
and she was doing fat. She was trying to sell fashions, and she had alcohol sponsors and stuff. So we had actually rented out this mansion in Beverly Hills, and Tertullian was one of the floor models. So he came out and was kind of modeling the clothing and stuff like that, and it was a really good time. I had the kids out there, and we were having a
Mm.
really good time, man. Now, that was the last time I really spoke to him in person. Other than that, just here and there on Facebook. So I
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, real nice guy, but he's a Christian. He's Haitian American,
Mm.
and so Haitians are kind of conservative, and so he's got a little bit of a problem there as far as his, being gay and trying to be genuine, and at the same time maintain his Christian church beliefs. I assume we're going to let him tell his story.
Yeah, of
Um,
course. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, you wanted to talk about church hurt, and that's obviously something that both me and you have experienced
yep,
over the years.
yeah, man. It's really weird. So funny. That stuff is so traumatic. I didn't really realize how traumatic it was until some Jehovah's Witnesses came to my house. I think it was last weekend. They came knocking at the door, and just the whole thing, just the whole talk, the whole their introduction, them trying to
Yeah.
reason with me from the scriptures, and it just brought back all this pain for some reason. I don't know, it was really weird. I was like, man, man, I'm so glad I'm not in that stuff anymore. Like, just hearing these poor kids talk like that, I'm like, man, I used to be one of these guys, you know? So
Yeah,
sad.
it's I totally get where you're coming from with it. I mean, I still have like a lot of trauma from it myself.
Hmm.
I have nightmares constantly still.
I'm sorry.
Where I'm like sort of trapped back in that religion again, trapped back in the household and everything where I was, and I can't get out and everything, and I'm stuck having to believe in things that I don't actually believe in and stuff, and then things. It's quite traumatic,
Hmm.
um, when you've got still got nightmares like 12 years later, sort of thing. It's um,
Yeah, and you can't really, this is where reality sort of rubs against religion because
hmm,
um, like I know with yourself and with Tertullian and millions and millions of others, um, you know when it comes to things like gender and sexuality and things like that, reality is on a spectrum on in everything,
it
and
is.
it really is. It's part of the way that reality just works. It's like there's no black and white. There's always in between, and that's just reality. Yet, because the Bible was written in times of ignorance, and people are still trying to maintain and hold on to this stuff, they actually abuse people in their own church that don't fit the script. And this is
Yeah,
where all that trauma comes from. And I'm not even gay or anything like that at all, but I was still traumatized by my experience because something about me rubbed them the wrong way. And so that they got me too. They punished me
yeah.
for it.
Well, I
It's just
mean, the being LGBT is a big one, obviously, for religion and stuff. But the
hmm.
control, the whole thing's set up to control specific aspects of your life. Whether whether it is like the music that you listen to, or whether it's the things that you like to watch on TV, or just like mundane things like that, all the way up until you get to like big things like your sexuality and your gender and things.
Hmm.
They try to control all of it, and it's that control which is so damaging because to gain that control they have to they have to take away your mental capacity for making your own choices.
Right. Right.
So they have to take that away from you, and that's what's so traumatic
Yep.
to people.
And it's the guilt and fear I think that really
Mm.
got me. Like I think I had went and spoke to a psychiatrist, and they actually told me I had a condition where I was like hyper guilty all the time, because you know how Jehovah's Witnesses say you can't even pick up a pen at work and you know accidentally take it home, or every little mistake is being counted, and I was so at that point in time in my life, I was so guilty about everything. I always just second guessed myself, and am I really a good witness for Jehovah? Am I really doing the right thing? I mean, I'm trying, but I just feel like I'm falling short, and I would go to the elders and kind of talk about some of my issues, and as much as I guess they thought they were helping, I mean, if I'm really being honest here, they kind of made it worse because I felt like they were gaslighting me, like
Mm.
it's your problem. If you don't understand these things, that's your stubbornness or your sin, and these are things you need to take to Jehovah and leave it there. And it never helped, of course. And so you're just kind of left traumatized because you're thinking any day now Jehovah's going to bring Armageddon and I'm just going to get destroyed. you know, it was very frightening. If you took it serious.
Sorry, 2 seconds. I'm just
Yeah,
plugging
no
in
problem.
my headphones just so there's no echo or anything.
Oh, no problem. No problem, Katie. And yeah, it's just and I think it's the same thing with many fundamentalist conservative type religions, whether they be Christian or Islamic or anything like that. That fear factor is a real big part of getting the control that you're talking about to work, you
Yeah,
know. Yeah. And I tell you, and times are quickly changing. Like, because I'm in my 50s, I've seen evolution of at least culture in America pretty much take shape at a certain pace. But ever since the advent of the internet, and as that technology kind of grew, it seems like people are becoming more aware of so much, and there's so much information, and people are starting to really come out um, with who they are, whether they be
mm,
trans people, gay people, unbelievers, people that doubt things, skeptics, things like that. Science that contradicts, such beliefs are all on the internet for you to find. And those kind of things cause problems, between that's again, this is when the real world starts bumping in to the object called religion. And
yeah,
yeah, and I just feel like I think in America, if the stats, and you can't really, stats are different depending on who you get your sources from, but it seems like people are losing religion these days at a quicker rate. And if that's true, I think it's probably because of our knowledge increase on the
yeah.
internet. What do you think about that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, if it wasn't for the internet and everything, I might not have even left when I was a kid. Like, you know,
Yeah.
information is key. So, like, where can you get your information from? If you're in like, especially with like something like Jehovah's Witnesses, if you're in that sort of clique, in that cult, um,
Hmm.
and you have no information sources other than that, then I mean, how are you going to leave?
Right.
Which is why Jehovah's Witnesses are so adamant on not, going on social media,
Hmm.
not conversing with anybody outside of the religion and things like that. That's it. It's information control, um,
Yeah.
which is, if you're going in the age of internet, is very hard to do. Which is why we
Yeah.
probably see the rate increase of people leaving because especially with, like, say, a cult like Jehovah's Witnesses, like,
Hmm.
there's a lot of nasty information about those religions,
Oh yeah.
and all it takes is for one Jehovah's Witness to stumble across a few nasty facts about something that they never even conceived of, and then
Mm.
all of a sudden they start doubting,
Yep.
and then they start conversing with people outside the religion, looking to, like, sort of answer questions and stuff that they maybe have, and then eventually the end of the road comes where they have to either stay in and be in extreme cognitive dissonance, or
Extreme.
they have to leave.
That's right. That's right. I have a theory, and that theory is that the more conservative and more um, fundamental your version of Christianity is, if you leave, you're more likely to convert over to atheism than to
Mm,
some other brand of Christianity. The reason I think this is because, like, let's take the comparison. Like in America, we have progressive liberal churches, like say Universalists, the Church of Universalism, in different church groups. These people are very liberal, so they have like wishy-washy interpretations of the Bible, like they're sort of really massive on the cherry picking thing, where they're like, "Oh, the slavery part, ignore that part. That's just rubbish."
yeah,
But the part about God loves you and this and that can stay. It's real hard for those people even if they found something really ugly, like you say, on the internet about their church or about something like that, um, they would simply just adapt into some other form. Whereas if you're more fundamentalist like me, my whole thing was like, if you were to knock down just one of the chair stands that my relies on, just one, the whole thing's going to come crashing down. It's like, you know, the thing about blood or the thing about, any of the teachings, really. For me, the Bible is all inspired by God. It's God breathed, it's inspired by God. So there can be no mistakes. So if there's one thing that would stump me in the Bible or in the religious organization's teaching, then that would do it for all religions, because I've already decided this is the true religion. Any other religions, because you know how Jehovah's Witnesses, they teach us
Hmm.
how bad all the other churches are, like
Well, yeah,
where you gonna go mentality.
yeah. I can see where you're coming from with that, and I think there is some people who do go into like other religions and stuff. Like I myself, I didn't like become atheist straight away. I played around with like Buddhism and some other things like that. I never really got involved in like major religions though at that point. It was just like sort of playing around with spirituality sort of thing.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Oh.
but then I realized that none of that makes sense either. So to me
Hmm.
anyway. But some people leave these religions and find some place in paganism or spiritualism or something like that.
Yeah, like a lot of people I've heard tell me this, that why didn't you become a Mormon? Because they think that Jehovah's Witnesses are kind of similar to Mormonism, and they're not. Not at all. The only thing that they see is they go door to door. And so they,
Yeah.
they kind of assume that they're both the same thing. Maybe there's like a little tiny difference, but it's a big difference, in those religions. But yeah, for me, the process was sort of like I got out of Jehovah's Witnesses based on some discussions I was having with an atheist guy I worked with, and he was making a lot of sense. Or just really didn't. He was just asking me questions I couldn't answer, and the elder I went to about it was telling me, well, the truth can stand any rigorous question, so don't you worry. The Bible is 100% true, so there's nothing the world can present to you that's going to disqualify it or in some way mislead you. You just have to be confident in your belief and know that we have the truth. But stay away from that guy if he's causing you problems. Only spend time with him if you're getting him over to the truth. Don't spend a whole lot of time, because the devil has a way of misleading you and getting you to fall for his crap. If that makes any sense, which it didn't. But I kept talking to the guy because he kept asking me questions I couldn't answer. The elders weren't helping me. Like, the guy's asking me questions about epistemology, and I just couldn't refute anything he was saying. And it just led me right out. And so that process, it turned me right into a hard atheist. Right after I left, I was immediately overnight an atheist. And then,
Hmm.
and then later on, as I started talking to other people, I became more sort of spiritual minded, then back to atheism. And now I've just kind of just realized, it's better to just be a naturalist, be agnostic about most ontologies, and just keep it real, man. Just don't sweat it. It's not that big of a deal. Just whatever works for you. Go along with it, but don't mislead yourself. Don't get sucked into supernatural, spooky stories. Always check your epistemology and the way you think about things. And for some of us, it's a challenge. I mean, some of us are wired a certain way where we just see. It's kind of like that pareidolia. You know how
Hmm.
you look in the clouds and you see a face? Well,
Yeah.
some people see faces in everything, man. They see
Yeah.
that kind of stuff everywhere, and it's hard for
Well,
them.
it's the human mind, isn't it? It's what the
Yep,
human mind does. We're pattern solving machines.
yep,
So we're always looking for patterns in something, even if there isn't a pattern there, we'll see it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why you'll always see the thing that you want to see. Like,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
you won't see something which is strange to you or something which you weren't expecting to see. Like, you know, it's why Christians see Jesus in toast all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereas an atheist looks at it and like sort of say, oh, it's just a piece of toast, or you know,
Yeah. And some things, anybody can see. Like and this is kind of funny. There's this picture on the internet of a dog, his butt, and it's got Jesus. His butt looks like Jesus. I don't know if you've ever seen that thing.
oh yeah, I've seen that.
So it's like, so one of the I was having a debate with a Christian one time, kind of just reminded me of that, and he was saying, yeah, you can see, you see creation and God's design and everything was designed by God, everything. So everything you see is a reflection of God's mind. So I was like, oh, well, even this? And then I showed him the picture of the dog's ass. And he's like, no, not that. That's different. Like,
Well,
how?
they like to, you know, they like to say things like that, you know, and it's only looking at the good, isn't it? It only them sort of arguments only work if you're only looking at the good things, like sort of, oh, God is everything, yeah, but no, he's not that thing over there, though. I don't like that thing. Well, that thing just doesn't exist. It doesn't matter, you know. Yeah, all the, like I was
It's
reading a thing about there's a is it a frog? I think it's a frog. Yeah, it eats a particular cockroach, I think.
mm,
And the cockroach like sort of uh, eats its way out of the frog through the frog's like brain sort of thing.
ooh, yeah.
Like while the frog's alive, like an excruciating way for the frog to die, sort of thing. But that's just the life cycle of these specific animals,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, well, why the hell would God create that?
Yeah, what's the
And,
point?
and there's another one where there's an ant that has that gets infected by a fungi, and the fungi infects the ant inside the ant's brain, and then forces the ant to climb up a tree, where it'll then where the fungi will then grow out of the ant, and the ant will just grow into the fungi,
Ooh,
and it'll just like basically use all of the body parts of the ant to you know to give itself life. It's like it's insane.
it is.
Like,
God's
oh,
pretty
God created
selective.
that. Yeah, he's all love, but he created that. That's
He's like, fuck ants. Never liked them motherfuckers anyways. Why? Yeah, it's like it's the problem of evil. And that was the thing that I was really pushing on my last discussion with Kelly. Was my issue is the thing that stumps me, probably more than anything, is the problem of evil. Like, why would God create a universe that that contains so much unnecessary suffering and evil, and he had said that, well, God doesn't create evil at all. And then I just pulled up the verse, Isaiah 45:7, that says, I, Jehovah, create the light and the darkness. I create the good and the evil. I am Jehovah. I do all these things. So it's like, no, he actually is a walking contradiction. He's all love, yet everything he does is to create good and evil,
yeah,
which is a contradiction. It makes no sense. But then the argument is, oh well, the evil is there for the good to actually manifest itself,
yeah.
because
It's that.
without that, how are you going to be a
Yeah,
hero if there's no war for you to fight in, for example?
yeah. It's a sort of argument from like how would you know if something was evil if you didn't have good, sort of thing.
My man, Tertullian, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, brother. Just fighting a little cold here, but
Oh no, really?
yeah, it's
Oh
been
man.
in LA the temperature's changed a bit, but it's been cold in the house. So
Mm.
I yesterday. I've been dealing with the sniffles, and today, so here we are.
Well, you're looking good, man. Looking
Thank you,
good
brother.
though, brother.
Thank you,
Um,
brother.
I miss California. You know, I'm down here in Florida, right? Today it's
Oh,
just rainy,
nice.
all day rainy, but it's like 71 degrees.
Oh, wow. Yes,
But
that's
then, yeah, it's
warmer.
hot, it's humid, smoky out, like the steam is coming up off the ground. But, a couple of weeks ago, it was freezing cold. It was like 30, 40 degrees. So
Oh,
it's like
wow.
bipolar weather.
Yeah, yeah,
You'll
yep.
definitely have some challenges down here, man, with the weather. But
I definitely would. I can't handle humidity at all.
but you're Haitian, man. You should be able to live through that stuff.
Well, true, true, true.
So how you been? So I mean, first of all, I want to introduce you to the audience. This is Tertullian. I've known Tools since 2010, like 13
20,
years ago.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
2010. I remember it was like I met you in the summer of 2010 because I had just moved at La Brea Park.
Oh, 2011 actually, because
Or
I just moved
2011.
it. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah, it's around that time, like
yeah,
yeah, over
yeah,
10 years ago,
yeah,
and we both love music. Tertullian is now. We used to write songs and do little stuff like that, and now he's recording professional records and um, with big name producers from Europe and all over the place, um, and then also you're doing your acting. That's really blossomed a bit, and you're doing great, man. And I
Thank you,
follow
brother.
you. I keep up with it, of course.
Thank
And yeah, man, I'm just really proud of you, brother, man. You've
thank you,
come a
brother.
long way, bro.
Thank you, bro. It's been an interesting journey, and when you're in it, you're like, you have these kind of aspirations as to where you want to be. And sometimes we forget like where we come from or how much work we've put in.
Mm,
And a friend of mine just reminded me of that the other day because I'm always like, okay, I work and then like I move on to the next thing. And I don't always celebrate the work that I do. And my friend was like, yo, you've done a lot of beautiful stuff. Like, you need to celebrate that. I'm like, you know what? You're right.
you
So,
really do, man. You really
thank
do.
you. Thank
And
you.
and I don't want to be rude. This is my friend Katie Sykes. She's here. She's my
Hi, Katie.
co-host.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing fine.
We're
Good.
all around the world. She's in the UK.
Oh,
Oh
hey.
yeah,
Um,
Nice.
very very cold here at the moment. -3 at the moment.
Oh,
ooh,
that
no,
-3. See, give me a
no.
fireplace and a fur coat,
Yeah,
and I'm
okay.
good. I won't be leaving the house.
No. The temperature just got to be just right.
Yes. Yep. Woo.
Yeah, man.
-3.
I was
Good
telling
Lord.
Katie the last time we saw each other was I think like 4 years ago. Fiona, my ex-wife, she was doing an event, fashion show,
Right.
and you were doing some runway and Finley was out there, and yeah,
Yeah.
it was really fun. We had a lot of fun that night. I
It was
remember that.
fun. Yeah, it was. It was a good time.
Heck
It was a
yeah.
good time. Yeah. Yeah.
Beverly Hills. We had rented that big mansion out, man.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
That was cool.
That was a good time. That was a really good
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
So, anyways, the discussion. Just to let everybody know, I saw, I wasn't able to see the video that you had posted, and then it just kind of dinged in my brain. I was like, I'm doing a discussion show. Why don't I have Tertullian talk about the same thing, which was you're talking about church hurt,
Yeah.
and as you know, I come from a very thick, religious background. I'm no longer religious, as you know,
Right. Right.
but you're bringing up a discussion I can really relate to. Me and Katie, we come from a very similar background as Jehovah's Witnesses,
Mm.
and
Oh
we went
wow.
through a lot of things. And Katie, she transitioned,
Right.
and so it's always been a struggle. And so the church has always been sort of hard on her about that, and
Right.
just family, and
Yeah.
it's like that. It's like I don't know. We were just talking about how reality is on a spectrum. Like people aren't just black or white. There's all this in between stuff that people fall into,
Right.
and sometimes very religious, especially fundamentalist sort of thinkers in religion, really can't get with that. They really can't see it. And
Because
so
they're stuck.
family will attack
Yeah,
you.
they're stuck. They're stuck, but they're also, conditioned and brainwashed. Because one of the running themes that I find a lot in churches, regardless of which, what religious system you follow, is that there is this conditioning or this brainwashing that happens over time. And the individual ends up not really thinking for themselves and kind of thinking based off of, sorry, sirens,
Hmm.
kind of thinking based off of what they're taught and what they're told. And a lot
Right.
of the times when situations like spectrum situations show up, a lot of the times they freeze. They don't know, their instant reaction is negative, but they don't take the time to think that even everyone in between in the spectrum is still a child of God. That's
Mm.
what they're failing to recognize, and failing to embrace.
What religion are you again? Like I know it's Christianity is the religion, but what denomination or church are you referring?
I was born in my parents were in Haiti. They were born Catholic and then switched to Protestantism, which is Baptist. So
Hmm.
I was born more into a Baptist family, but like they were Baptist roots, but more on the charismatic side, so Pentecostal really. And
Mm.
so I remember growing up, like when I was little, we went to this church called First Union Baptist Church. It was Baptist, but they were Holy Ghost. It was like a Holy Ghost filled Baptist church. And then we went from that to the Body of Christ. And the Body of Christ is part of the whole Assemblies of God cult. Because I'm going to call it a cult because that's what it is.
Hmm.
And so we got involved with that, and it's sort of like, just think Jehovah's Witness on steroids.
Mm.
That's what
Wow.
it is, because it was a lot of this strict doctrine. Because I know Jehovah's Witness, um, they they're based off of a lot of doctrine,
Hmm.
and we would like sometimes purposely have run-ins with Jehovah's Witness and kind of spar off in a bit, because the religion that I was in thought that we were better than everyone else. We thought that we were, I guess, the the 144,000 that is talked about in the book of Revelation.
Hmm.
I mean, it was to that point of
Hmm.
my religion saying, okay, you're Baptist, you're this, you're Catholic, you going to hell, but not us.
Mm. Mm.
So it was that kind of vibe. And then it was, strict rules as far as dress. You couldn't Girls had to wear long skirts all the time. Men had to wear white shirts, clean shaven, short hair. And church was Sunday, Tuesdays, Fridays, Saturdays sometimes,
Hmm.
and if there's like a convention, they call them conventions or meetings, then
Hmm.
that's like, a whole week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
similar, isn't it,
Sounds
Katie?
very, yeah. I was just about to say it sounds very much like word for word exactly the same as what you know
Yeah.
what Jehovah's Witnesses do. So
Yeah,
uh,
like
Yeah.
it's very controlled, and
Yes.
when I was just telling Katie before you came on, I didn't realize how traumatic that experience was for me
Yeah.
until some Jehovah's Witnesses came to my door about last weekend, I think it was,
Uh-huh.
and they came to the door, and I just felt the smugness and that whole thing, like that whole world came back to me.
Yeah.
Like, okay, now we got to get you, and you need to understand, blah blah. They're trying to talk to me, like, look, this
Yeah.
is the thing, and I'm like, dude, I'm like, y'all need to go. like,
Right.
like
Yeah.
this is very traumatic for me
Yeah.
because I've already everything you said. I've been there, done that, and probably know 20 times more about the organization than you do.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's hard to kind of talk to people like that because they're so gung ho and they're so hit with the spirit, and
Yeah.
they're very ready to proselytize and convince you how you're wrong and how they're right, and
Right.
you just can't see it because you don't
Yeah.
want to see it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very gaslighty.
Yes. Very gaslighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same with what I used to deal with. And it's interesting you mentioned the word traumatic because the podcast that I was on the other day, Fabiola, who is the host of the podcast, and also a dear friend of mine, we grew up in the same church system.
Mm,
So she mentioned that how traumatic the experience was, and a lot of the times, I had mentioned that as Black people, like a lot of the times we turn to humor to
mm-hmm.
heal the trauma, but a lot of the times there's bugs out here. A lot of the times the trauma isn't healed. It's just like the the joking and the laughter and the humor kind of helps sugarcoat it, but at the end of the day, you can't deny that it was a traumatic experience and still is.
Yeah.
Whereas there's people like you and I, or like all three of us here, who are not in it now, and I don't know as far as the both of you, like if you've gone to therapy or anything like that, but I know that there are others that have left
Mm-hmm.
and haven't gone to therapy and are just still jaded and carry a lot of that stuff with them.
Katie,
Yeah.
yeah, you're
That's
actually studying psychology and things like that, right?
yeah. I study social psychology at university at the moment. Yeah. I didn't really do a lot of therapy. So like sort of I'm like sort of doing self therapy while I'm going
Mhm.
through university. But yeah, I can see what you're saying about like some people who don't go through therapy can still have a lot of trauma. I
Yeah,
even have that now myself because I didn't do a lot of therapy, and I find it very hard to like open up in front of like on a one-on-one situation with like a therapist sort of thing.
yeah.
Um,
It takes time.
so
It takes time.
She's got some horrible stories, and much more horrible than mine. I mean, mine were just basic doubts and trying to question things and then being shut down, you
Right,
know, and just being made to seem like a fool and
right.
people talking any kind of way and,
Hmm.
just taking advantage of your good nature and trying to really coerce you and gaslight you into understanding that you're the problem. It's
Right,
not us, it's you.
right,
And if you can't get over it, then you go to hell for all I care. I don't care. Like,
right,
that's your choice.
right.
Like, that's not helping me. Like, that doesn't really help.
No,
Like,
not at all.
in fact, it's kind of pissed me off, and it
Hmm.
makes me not want to even be a part of that anymore. And it took a while, though. I'm not gonna lie to you. It took a while because I was actually in a leadership position, and I
Hmm.
was teaching people and shepherding people and youths and people like that. And so for me to turn my back would be a big letdown for the people that looked up to me.
I get it.
And
Yeah,
I didn't want to be that guy.
yeah. I get
yeah.
it. Yeah, I
Same,
get
same
it.
for me. I mean, I was a pioneer within Jehovah's Witnesses. I was
Mm,
also a ministerial servant as well. So
yep.
I spent a lot of my time converting people over to Jehovah's Witnesses, and it's something I feel really guilty for, given
Mm-hmm.
what I went through as part of the religion, knowing that that I just possibly destroyed other people's lives because, I converted them over that to that horribleness that I had to go through.
Right.
Which is why I do what I do on the internet and stuff, trying to talk with people and help people as where I can to get away from whatever trauma it is that they're having to go through.
Right.
What are you
Right.
doing now, Tertullian, as far as your spirituality? Like, are you part of a Christian church now, or are you kind of just out of it totally, or?
I'm out of it totally. So I was attending. I guess I here and there I go to Agape Spiritual Center,
Mm-hmm.
and that is a more like open and accepting and a more universal um like ancient wisdom kind of new thought
Oh
vibe.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So find my I found myself there, but also have found that as I've grown spiritually, because I now I still hold on to my Christian roots, but I also am honoring a Haitian lineage in Vodou,
Mm.
and really kind of tapping into my ancestral lineage and embracing that because the church has taught so many of us that that stuff is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, there needs to be a balance with everything. And I'm not discrediting, like, I'm not saying that people have used voodoo to do wrong, just in the same that people have used Christianity to do wrong. I mean, when you go to history and you look at the Spanish Inquisition,
Mm-hmm.
right there,
Oh,
sorry, I had a call.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, so I'm embracing, like, I'm when they would say, "Oh, hey, like voodoo's bad," and this, that, and the third, I'd be like, "Okay, like, what is so bad about it?" And a lot of the times, the people that are saying that it's bad don't even know what it is that they're talking about. So I decided to just fully embrace that. Even growing up in the church, like, I've always been someone who is spiritual, even within the Christian realm.
Mm-hmm.
I was always like connected in that way, and always felt like even when I was in it, and like I was aware of the brainwashing happening, like I was aware of the conditioning, and I always like would try to fight it by, you know, rebelling and defying, and reading other books, or just expanding my knowledge outside
Mm-hmm.
of what the church was teaching and what the Bible was saying. So
I find it very interesting that, like, the Bible, a lot of Christians will say that, you're supposed to stay away from magic and um, things like that. Yet it's that stuff exists in the Bible. Like, it talks about the three magicians that came to bring,
yeah,
the wise men were Magi. That's where the word magic comes from.
yeah,
Like, I don't
like
understand. Like, astrology is supposed to be bad, yet they were following the star to
to
find
get there,
Jesus.
to,
You know
to
what I
get
mean?
there,
Like,
yes, yes, because the star was also part of the prophecy, right?
yeah,
The
yeah,
prophecy.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's the same thing. This used to always be my argument, and they say, "Oh, don't go to the clairvoyant, don't go to psychic," and I'm like, "What's the difference between a prophet and a psychic?"
Right.
There's no
is there?
difference. The only difference is, and I tell people this all the time, even when you look at a voodoo ceremony compared to a Pentecostal church service where there's a lot of shouting and speaking in tongues and movement of the spirit, there's no
Mm-hmm.
difference. The only difference is, what frequency are you tapping into?
Mm,
What channel are you dialing? What are you tuning into?
mm.
Because this earth realm is, we're all energy, right? And so there are ways to tap into different vibrations of energy. If you want to hit up the celestial realm and, godlike and all of that, then Christianity is one form. It's not the only form, though. You know,
Yeah.
it's not
They,
the only form.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, in
mhm.
psychology, we'd say that you're tapping into a part of your mind, which, whether you want to talk about that as being just within your head, or whether from more of like a religious point of view, with it being outside, like sort of energy and stuff like that, it's the
Yeah,
same sort of thing. You're tapping into into a specific part of your own psyche.
right.
Um, yeah.
It's
And
true.
there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's no
No,
shame in that. Like,
no.
that's part of being an actual, genuine human being, is that you want to find connection. You want to find oneness. You want to find
Mm-hmm.
that transcendence in your
Mm-hmm.
consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
think that there's a reason why we've had those sort of spiritual experiences available to us, and those sort of religions have always flourished, is because I always like to put it this way. For me, psychology and spirituality are almost synonymous. Almost. Spirituality is just a little bit further in the sense that, I mean, I'm talking about Grash. I know that other people can think about, when they think about spirituality, think about unicorns and rainbows out of, that kind of stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm
Right.
talking about the real deep, meaningful spirituality of psychology, like just trying
Right.
to have peace of mind, trying to have the feeling of oneness with the cosmos, the awe of the cosmos. Um, and having a positive vibe, positive energy about
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
For me, those are the things that I consider very important in life. And everybody's on their own journey, and everybody's trying to get there in different ways, because everybody wants to feel, at least normal people, I would think, want to have a positive life and want to have peace of mind. I think that
Right.
some people turn to drugs, and so to quiet the mind down, they smoke a lot of weed or do a lot of cocaine and drink a lot, become alcoholics. They do things as escapism to escape this hard world we live in. Because, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, face it, this world is full of challenges, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a test for all of us every day.
Yeah.
And so our journey is never really easy. And so rather than embrace it, a lot of people would rather find escapism through drugs and alcohol and things of that nature, when there's also another way. One that I've been studying is like meditation, Buddhist principles,
Mm-hmm.
like of disconnecting from things that don't matter, like these beliefs that don't matter.
Right.
These sort of things can cause you anxiety and cognitive dissonance and just ruin your peace of mind
Yeah,
totally.
that's true.
And you'll
Yeah.
find yourself arguing with people on the internet over religious terms, terminology, and words and what they really mean. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I would rather spend my time showing love to my neighbor or doing something positive for my community rather than argue with you about why you're not doing religion right. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Like,
Right. Right. Right.
just
True.
that's kind of where I'm kind of falling into it. And and I respect that, man. I'm very proud that you were able to actually identify the problem and then separate yourself out of it, because so many
Yeah.
people stuck in religions for years, their
Yeah.
whole lives, and it's just
Yep.
a sad thing, man.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It is. It's really sad. And I don't know. Like I feel like right now there is a renaissance happening. There is an awakening happening. I feel like people are really turning more to spirituality. Even those that
Hmm.
are within the church, I feel like they're taking it a little bit more personal.
They call them the
Rather,
nuns. They don't profess any religion. They call them spiritual, spiritual, not religious. That group, it's statistically, if they're correct, it seems to be growing really big. Like people that are actually leaving the church, and me and Katie were talking about that too
mhm,
before you came on. Is that I think with the internet, with all this information available, people are able to actually, that didn't have access to a lot of books and stuff,
right,
they're able to read a lot of stuff on the internet that opens their eyes to the cultural background of the Bible, for example,
mhm,
and how these things, the problems and the pros and cons of everything, really. And so they are now becoming more enlightened, at least on an intellectual level, about these kind of topics, and that's actually funny because it's driving people out. And this is why Jehovah's Witnesses are trying to tell their people, don't go to social media, cut
yeah,
that crap
Yeah.
out.
Yep.
Don't do that. It's going to mislead you. It's going to take
Yeah.
you out of you know, salvation. You're going to let the internet ruin your salvation.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I mean, people want to be part of something, and you know, I think that's what a lot of this leaving, you know, religions or even going from atheism into like sort of spirituality. I think that's what a lot of what it is. I mean, what does atheism really offer if you're looking for a group? If you're looking for, you know, like a clique that you can be part of, sort of thing. Atheism doesn't really offer anything as part of that because you know you're all united in your
denial of some
disbelief
shit.
of something. Yeah,
Disbelief.
it's
Yeah.
like
It's kind of like people say atheism is kind of like a religion. If that was true, that would be like kind of like saying um, no golfing is a sport or
Right.
something like that. Like it doesn't make sense. It's just some people just aren't convinced of, you know, religion or things like that, and so
Mm-hmm.
they kind of just, it's just a response. It's not really a worldview or a claim for most people anyways. It's kind of like just a response, you know.
Right.
We're just not convinced anymore, and we're looking for something else. And like Tertullian said, you know, a lot of people are leaving, you know, churches, or people are, you know, atheists that are looking at spirituality or whatever the case is, man. They're getting all this information now, and
Mm-hmm.
it's taking a toll on churches. You know, churches are a big business though. They're like bigger than
That's
AT&T. That's
yep.
the problem.
That's the issue. That's the issue. It's become uh, more about business than it was about saving souls.
Yeah.
You know, and it shouldn't have been about saving souls anyway, because like I tell people, if you're gonna stick to the word, the Bible does say that salvation is personal, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
there you have it.
There you have it, man. And you know, and then you think my question is like, being saved from who? Like, so you're telling me God is out to hurt me, or spiritually do violence to me for what? Because you
Mhm.
don't believe the right church, or you don't believe the right definition of him, or it's like, well, if it's that important and God wanted me to know exactly who he is, he could actually just tell me himself or present
Mhm.
himself in a way
yeah,
to let me know. But it seems like in this life, this is why we have thousands and thousands of gods and thousands of religions and things like that, because everyone is basically operating out of their ego. They're saying, I think God is
Right.
this way. Therefore, you need to think God is this way, because if you don't, you're going to hurt my ego. And I can't have that.
Right.
You're going to have, not only that, you're kind of cutting in on my money too,
And the
because
money, yep.
I got people coming to this church paying good 10% of their income. That's a lot of money. And I'm tax free too. Get out of here. Get the fuck out of here. You ain't
Yep.
gonna sit there and tell me this ain't true. Screw you. Get out of here. You know,
Yep.
that's their attitude,
Yep.
because they have something to lose. It's their ego and their pockets.
Mhm.
And to me, this is just more of what the world has to offer always. Just selfishness, ego driven, control, all of these negative things. This is why we have so many wars over religion. We got wars going on right now over freaking who owns what real estate because God said so or whatever. Like, this is so unnecessary. If people could really just understand that we are all human beings, and we all deserve dignity and respect, and we can all get along and
Right.
have differences of opinions. It's okay.
Right.
Don't let your ego get so involved in it to where you get, these people
yeah,
personally get these people will literally kill you over disagreements about
Yeah.
their Bible or whatever.
Yep.
Like, they will kill you over that. They're not joking. And it's ridiculous, you know.
It really is.
yeah. I mean, I get death threats, you know, every now and then, just randomly online. A lot
Mhm.
of like trans people I speak to also the same happens. You know, just get random death threats off religious people who come across their profile online or something, and
Oh wow.
so far so down the rabbit hole of their institutionalization within religion that they literally get angry to the point of wanting to kill you. It's like, just because you somehow affecting them because you aren't conforming to the same things that they're conforming to.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to. I mean, as we said earlier, like religion wants everyone to conform. You have to conform to that specific doctrine, those specific rules.
Right.
And if there's people out there who are just openly not doing that, then that's a problem, because then your followers are going to be, like, well, why can't I do that? I want to do that.
Right.
And
Apostates. They call them apostates. They label you with this word that says, well, if you disagree and then you share your opinion, you're an apostate.
Mhm.
And at least with Jehovah's Witnesses, apostasy was a big deal. Like it was almost like sinning against the Holy Spirit, which was considered like an unforgivable sin
Right.
or whatever. Like
Yeah.
you
So like a form
received,
of heresy.
it's
yeah, like
worse.
heresy.
It's worse than for Jehovah's Witnesses. It's actually worse than being trans. Like I was my brother was speaking to my grandmother because he's not disfellowshipped or anything. He was actually never baptized, so he's all right to talk to her. But she was saying to him, it's not the fact that I'm trans that she doesn't like. She's absolutely fine with me being trans. It's the fact that I'm not part of the religion that I was in, and then I left, because that's that's just not heard of. You can't do that.
Can't do that.
Once you've made your pledge to God, that's it. You're in for life. You're in for eternity. And to throw that away is like lunacy to them.
Yeah, they don't get it.
Doesn't matter that I made that pledge when I was 12 years old and I was being raped and beaten on a daily basis, and and I was forced into it. It wasn't a choice that I made. It was just something I had to do.
What was that
That doesn't
story,
matter.
Katie? Katie, what was that story you said the elder came and made you burn all your books?
Oh, that was when I was actually in the religion. It was when I was about 9, 10-year-old, and I started. It was like at the craze when all Harry Potter was around and everything, and everyone was reading Harry Potter books at school and everything. So I'd actually gone and got myself some of the books, saved up, got myself some of the books, and started reading them. And the Circuit Overseer, so like the one of the ones that's like above the elders in the congregation and stuff, like tours around the circuits and stuff. They'd come round to the congregation, and someone had said that I was reading Harry Potter books, and so this Circuit Overseer came over to me and said, "Right, I'm going to be coming around your house and make sure you've got all them books. I want to see them."
Oh wow.
So he came around the house, and he came round with some lighter fluid and a box of matches, took me out into the back garden, and said, "Right, throw your books on the floor. Right, here, take this, take that. Right, light those books. Light them up. You're not allowed to be reading stuff like that. That's magic. You can't do anything like that. It's against Jehovah. Jehovah doesn't like that. That's satanic and all of this." And I did. And even to this day, I still haven't read Harry Potter, because it's like sort of seared into my mind the image of all these books going like the flames. It's just seared into
Like
my
a
mind.
curse.
Don't read that stuff. Like, I'm a gamer, and I don't even like playing games with magic in and stuff. It's like, because all of what that one religious leader decided, was wrong.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, I definitely should. It's important to heal that, because it's a block. It's a blockage.
It's a blockage. Yep.
The blockage. So
Yeah, man. That's sad, and
that is.
it's a lot of people go through that, and and I don't know. I'm just kind of glad I managed to get out, because I know people even today that I went to that church with, that organization, and they're still in it, you know,
Mhm.
after all these years, and oh my God. But yeah, man, it's crazy, and but the good thing is, Tertullian, man, you've evolved, you've
Yes.
growing, you've moved on, in your
Yes.
life, doing things that make you happy and things that make
Yes.
sense for you.
Yes.
And I can see your life blossoming too. Like I can see, like with your music and everything that you're doing, it seems to be very positive and things are moving in the right direction for you. It's
Yes.
very it and people you guys need to understand that don't take that lightly. Things that are causing trauma in our life and blockages and things like that, they kind of like stop you from moving ahead in
That's
life.
very true. That's very, very true.
Mm,
Yeah, they can cause you to hinder. Like I know one thing with the church for me was um being part of the world, and I always knew that I wanted to be in entertainment. I always knew I wanted to sing. I always knew I wanted to act, like modeling. Like it was just always something I knew.
mm,
And the church said that, well, you can't do that, and you can't be a part of this, and you can't be a part of that, and that has hindered me.
mm-hmm.
But whenever I hear those voices, I don't anymore. I've definitely grown a lot since then. But with starting out with the acting stuff and singing and all of that, like it's taken me some time to really find me and find my voice, and kind of like leaving that old identity behind, and finding who I am now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was an interesting journey to go through, but I almost feel like I had to go through that in order to be here, in a
Yeah.
way, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because I
Mm-hmm.
do feel that just what doesn't destroy you makes you stronger.
Oh, absolutely. Oh
So
yeah. Yeah. It's
you know,
building muscle, man.
yeah,
Building that character, building that drive, you really do. And it's like I feel the same way you do. Like back when I joined that religious organization, I was in my early 20s and I had a chance to like travel the world as a DJ. Like I had that on the table as a
yeah,
real thing and
yeah,
I was supposed to do shows in Miami with this band I had actually formed. And so I had, as a young kid, I like have all these things in front of me and I was so passionate about my music. Like
right,
I had my little studio and I was just banging out my beats and had my people come in and we were recording and that was my passion. And then the the religion just came and said, get rid of all that. That ain't
yep,
you. That ain't for
yeah,
you right now.
like almost they're like almost dream murderers, dream
Yeah,
killers,
dream killers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And give
I
me
get
some
it.
false dream like, yeah, would you rather be famous and make your music, or would you rather live forever in a paradise on earth with
Right,
being ruled by the 144,000 in heaven?
right.
And it's like, yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, because even when you look at the New Testament, and when Christ says that the kingdom of God is now, like Jesus knew what he was talking about. Everybody else didn't, because I
Hmm.
feel like a lot of people mistranslate that verse.
Well,
And
yeah, I mean, here's the thing too. Part of the reason I came out of Jehovah's Witness organization is because I actually went and studied the Bible. Now, when I say study the Bible, I don't mean just pick up the New Testament and read it again. I mean, what I did is I went through the history, like the real people that lived and wrote about um, Christians in the first, second century and things
right,
like that. And what I've come to learn, and this is is really common knowledge. It's just that you're never going to be told this unless you search it out for yourself. But what I've come to learn is that the early church are manufactured most of what you see. Like if you think about it, like they say the first book was, Mark was the earliest book of the Bible we have, the New Testament gospel, right?
hmm,
But even that was based on a previous manuscript. They call it Q. It's just like a template, and Q was the original template that Mark was based on. So Mark was supposed to be just the exact copy. The scribe went in and he just said, "Look, I'm just going to copy whatever it was called, and we're gonna call it Mark." It was a common name. Whoever, maybe that was the name of the guy that wrote it. Who knows? But Mark wrote the Gospel of Jesus. Now, within the book of Mark, Jesus had a lot of angry outbursts. If you're going to notice that, if you read through, it talks a lot about Jesus being angry and emotional. And when he died on the torture stake or the cross or whatever you believe on that, um, his words were, "Oh God, why have you
Forsaken me.
forsaken me?" Right. And through the whole thing, he was kind of like bitching up, like Garden of Gethsemane, all of this stuff. He was like, "Why let this, pass? Let this not pass before my lips. This cup, this thing that I got to go through." That was the book of Mark. So Jesus was very much human, very in fear, very had problems, had anger issues, flipped over tables, and a lot of different things. Then what happened is the church looked at that and said, and especially the Roman church. You got to understand the Romans had a different idea about divinity
Well,
and
yeah, the Council of Constantine and the Council of Nicaea. Yeah,
all of those.
all
Yeah,
of that.
exactly. And so they wanted alternatives. They wanted something else that fit, that could make this better. So if
Right.
you read the other books like Luke, he's never angry. His last words were, into your hands I entrust my spirit." No, it wasn't, "God, oh, why have you forsaken me?" It was, "In my hands I give you my like." It was more confident, more strong. He is a different look, a better look. And it just and until you get to the book of John, he's like totally a godhead. He's like a, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God." It's like he's God now. Now he's beyond even how Luke describes him. And so you've got all these different accounts. And so you can see the evolution. So what you're saying,
Yeah.
Tertullian, I understand perfectly. Some of those things are taken, written out of context or added or by the church and stuff like that. Like you're saying, oh yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. That's exactly what the evidence bears out. And when I studied all that and arrived at all that stuff, because you got to understand, remember, Katie, in that book of Jehovah's Witnesses, where they give you the references to where they base the
Yep.
they give you that whole thing. That's the only way I knew where to go to find this information, to the very sources that they're giving me.
Well, they didn't think anyone was going to look at them, did they?
Right,
It's like,
right.
These are our sources, and everyone's so gullible within that religion, and everyone
don't
just
bother
believes
to
what they're
read it.
told. Yeah.
I bothered to read it. I just went to the library. I said,
Especially
okay.
that book, like the book that like sort of most people leave because they like read that book. It's like one of the books that what was it, 1930, 1934 yearbook, was it? The the one that's banned by Jehovah's Witnesses. It's their own
some about the
publication and they
lights.
banned it.
Some about the light. What was that called?
Yeah. Well, no, it was the letter, the letter to
Oh,
Hitler
yeah.
from.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking
From
about. Rutherford
Rutherford. Yeah.
Yeah. So they give you a lot of scholarly references. They go and they cherry pick certain things that support their religion, and then they give you those citations. But if you read them in context, it doesn't say. It's the same thing with Richard Dawkins when they use Richard Dawkins in the Evolution Creation book. They took his crap out of even Richard Dawkins says the world was designed by God.
No,
he didn't.
Oh, we're getting a bit of feedback.
Yeah, I muted Tertullian. I think he's running out of charge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we ought to cut it close, anyways. Cut it down.
Yeah, that's good. Being you're on stream later on, aren't you? So
Yeah. So yeah, I really appreciate Tertullian, you coming on. I don't know if you can hear me. I think your phone is probably running out of charge or something like that. But
No, it was lovely listening to Julian talk about his
Appreciate.
experiences and everything.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Hey,
There we go.
Tools.
Hey,
Yeah, got a little
Internet.
feedback going on.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's about.
There you go.
There you go.
I was just gonna say we're gonna wrap it up.
Okay.
I got a few other commitments, but thank you so much for coming through, my friend.
Absolutely, brother. Anytime.
Okay,
And,
man. We'll talk to you soon.
This conversation is continuous, so there's
We'll do it again.
layers to it, so
Let's do it again, brother.
for sure.
All right, man.
All right, brother.
Yep.
Peace. Nice to meet you, Katie.
Yeah, lovely meeting you too.
All right, take care. Have a good day.
Bye bye. All right. Yeah, the feedback. Sorry for that. I think he had a bad connection going on. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Always enjoy our conversations, Katie. And I think I can't hear you. You muted, Katie? There you go.
Yes, I am. I'm muted. Yeah,
Okay, I can hear you. Okay, I was just gonna say we had a great conversation.
yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it. He's a lovely guy. and,
Yeah. He's very
he's done a
sweet.
lot with himself by the sounds of it, and he's managed to find his own way. So
Yep, he's on a journey, man.
yeah.
And
I've always said it's not so much the belief that's the problem when it comes to religion. I mean, somebody just believing that there is a God or there's following a certain thing of spirituality or something. That's not a problem. It's the institutionalization that's the problem.
yes,
And that's
yes,
the
I
thing that
agree.
causes all of the trauma and all of the deceit and the horribleness that we see within religion.
I agree, Katie. I started to the point where I'm like, I just don't care about beliefs anymore. I care more about, are you a good person or not?
Yeah,
And are you
exactly.
doing
Yeah.
something good for the world or not? And that's really what it boils down to. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the thing is, if you delve in deep enough, we all have beliefs. Whether even the staunchest atheist has beliefs,
yeah.
things that they believe that maybe they just don't talk about or anything because they can't back it up or anything.
Yes, that's very true. That is very true. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's all part of being human. And I always try to
Exactly.
remind myself that, I'm just human. And I always try to check myself when I see myself starting to believe things that are unfounded. If I decide to correct myself, and I usually do, or I try to, then I will. But if not, as long as you do no harm, then I don't have a problem with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was just watching a video with Michael Shermer and Philip Goff, who is a one of these consciousness is fundamental type people,
Mhm.
and he's like a or not a philosopher of mind. And so
Yes.
and I don't give a lot of credence to philosophy because it to me I just don't trust it for some reason. A lot of times if
It's a
it can,
tool in the toolkit, isn't it? But
yeah,
it
it's
can't
just a tool,
bring you any closer to any truth or anything.
right? It's
It's
good
not
for
designed to
asking,
bring you close to any truth.
right? It's good for asking questions and just challenging certain ideas. That's fine. But yeah, there was a really good conversation, and Michael Shermer said the same thing. He said, well, at the end, he was like, well, a lot of what you're saying, maybe I don't really agree with it, but because the fact is, you're a good person, you do good things, and you're not pushing no religion on people, so he didn't really have a problem with that, and I kind of agree, in a big way that step at a time, man, step at a time. The world's gonna evolve. One day we will be closer to truth, maybe, hopefully, but we'll have
Exactly.
to see. Yeah. Anyways, Katie, I'm gonna get on off here.
Yep.
Again,
Sounds
I
good.
enjoy you. Next week we're gonna have Victor. He's gonna be able to make it. He just wanted. He had some things come up, couldn't do it this weekend. But we'll mod.
Yeah. So
You'll
doing
mod that
the
debate.
debate next. I'll be modding the one next week. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. On
Okay.
Saturday, 12 o'clock.
Sounds good.
So, all right, guys, like and subscribe if you want to keep up with all of these discussions. And until then, we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye bye.